Yes, good morning everyone, and welcome back to a new webinar. It's been 2 months now since we did our last webinar, we're back. And today we're going to talk about the Flowbot. This is the Flowbot webinar explained to those of you who are new. We're happy to see who's here, who joined. A lot of people are joining today, so welcome. And for people who are rejoining, welcome again. And yeah, let's talk about Flowbot.
Quick short shout out. We have someone else joining us today. You won't see her, but she's actually picking up all the answers or questions that you have in the chat. So special shout out to Kirsten. You won't see her face, but she's there, and she'll be helping you with your questions in the chat. So please do let us know if you have any questions. She'll try her best to answer them to you. And if there is anything at the end that you still have questions about, you're of course free to reach out to us at team@trengo.com. Just send us an email with your questions.
Exactly, and at the end of this webinar, we'll also take a few minutes to go over some questions that might are there. So yeah, just feel free to help each other to the explanation for the Flowbot, of course. So we prepared a little presentation because today we're gonna talk about the Flowbot. Let's get into the flow. Yeah, you're probably wondering what a Flowbot can do. Maybe you have already try it out a bit, or you're just wondering what else it can do. Today we're gonna explain you all about it and give you some examples. And yeah, where we're gonna talk about today, Nick's gonna tell you more about.
Yeah, we've divided it into 4 topics. So first, why would you want to add a Flowbot? We're gonna tell you more about the benefits and how it can actually be of use to your specific company. There's tons of reasons to try out a Flowbot, but it all depends on what you're actually doing. So we're gonna give you a few guides on what it can help with. We're also gonna look into how to actually make a Flowbot. So we will explain to you how the Flowbot builder basically works, what things you can put in, and all stuff like that. So we'll just go through the settings basically to teach you more about the Flowbot in its setup. And we're also going to build one with you. Actually, we're going to build 2. So we're going to build a basic Flowbot, and then we're going to dive into a use case to get a bit more in depth on what actually can it do. Again, this is one use case. There's tons of use cases that you can use it for, but we want to give you an example on all the facets basically. And at the end, I think the most important part is we're going to end up with tips and tricks. So use cases or examples or situations that we've seen with customers, and we want to share with you. It's about analyzing your data, but also setting up with rules and stuff like that. So it's all the combinations of what you can do in Trengo, including the Flowbot and how that all comes together.
Yeah, exactly. Thanks, Nick. And of course, we're gonna start with the proper question. Add a Flowbot, but why? Why would you consider a Flowbot in the first place? Some people think, it's getting busy, I'm gonna replace my support with a bot. That's absolutely not the case. We think the Flowbot or bots help you to improve customer service. I think it's a really good combination between your customer service team and a bot that can enhance the customer experience to the next level. And I put some reasons why you can consider a Flowbot. First of the reasons is collecting customer information. I'm sure that a lot of companies have loads of questions or basic questions to their customers that they always need to ask. Think about name, think about email, maybe order number, or any other type of naming you're using in your company. These are recurring interactions that you are always asking, so why not let a Flowbot ask those questions for you before it gets assigned to a user. Another one, 24/7 support. We all need some sleep, so we're not all there 24/7. But how cool could it be if outside of your business hours, the Flowbot can already collect some questions, can already collect some data from customers or even questions, so the next morning you can directly get back to them.
Or even answer in some cases.
Or even answer, giving information. Another good one would be assigning. Like I said previously, it's also really good to make sure that people are getting to the right persons. If someone comes on your website and is a potential lead, for example, the first person you would love this customer to reach out to is sales. So Flowbot can also help you to auto-assign to specific teams inside of Trengo. This also saves you time. FAQ, you can also set up a Flowbot for frequently asked questions. If you have website visitors asking a lot of the same questions, you can help customers, get those answers, and based on the questions, send them relevant information such as videos, help send articles, or even white papers. So that's also a possibility. Another one I really like is quick first response time. Comes together a bit with the 24/7 thing I told before. Like you can give a response really fast. Like the customer has directly some feedback, they directly have someone they can talk to or help them, guide them through the website, or guide them through a colleague. So quick first response. I mean, in this I also try to advise, like, be creative, you know, like try to create this little wow effect from a customer when they first get a response.
Yeah, and also like keep it in your tone of voice. Like some companies are a bit more like on the wild side, so to say, so they have like quirky auto replies. You can have that quirkiness in your Flowbot as well, if it suits your tone of voice, of course.
Yeah. Another one good one, like also like lead generation, like making sure that if potential customers are coming to your website, there are tons of ways where you can kind of nudge the customer to interact with your chatbot, Flowbot, and the website widget to get in contact with your company, getting relevant information, but also get assigned to a sales agent. And last but not least, I think
I think it was me.
No worries. And the last but not least, I think I mentioned it already a few times, is it saves time. And if you save time, it saves money, and your customer's team, service team, or sales team can focus on the things that are more important. I'm not sure why it's going further, but there we go. There we go. So yeah, it saves time and it saves money. But yeah, what is a Flowbot? I mean, the best thing, like if we think about a Flowbot, like a regular chatbot, like if we think about a regular chatbot, you get an answer based on your question, right? With a Flowbot, you can literally kind of get the customer into a certain flow by asking questions to the customer and giving certain responses, like multiple choice or asking for information, which then leads your customer to the right path. So here's a little example, a little photo you can see where someone says, hey, how can I help? Well, I would like to buy a product. Well then, okay, awesome. How big is your team? And then you can get some information. If it's between 1 and 25 people, it requests you, okay, start a trial. If it's a really big customer, it redirects you to the sales department to book a meeting. But if you already are a customer, you say, well, I just need help, it directs you to support. So this is a really simple example. We're also gonna show you some more examples later on.
Yeah, and I think it's also like with the difference between Chatbot and Flowbot. A Chatbot is kind of like you just give it to the customer and they can ask any question they want. With the Flowbot, you actually give kind of like a guiding hand, so to say. Like you are asking questions that you need the customer to answer, and they are guided through your process. So you get the information that you need, and the customer also has like a starting point. Like they are asking questions, but they might perhaps not know what you need from them. Like, do you need an order number, or do you need my email address? And the Flowbot helps you by taking them by the hand, basically, and guiding them through the flow, and they go the way they need to go. Like they get in contact with sales or your help center or anything like that.
Exactly. And also, like, before we get into the details of the Flowbot itself, what also is good to know is that the Flowbot can be put on a lot of channels. Like, not only your website widget, you can also put it on your Google Business Messenger, you can put it on Facebook, Instagram, Telegram, even on SMS, on the website chat, obviously, but also on WhatsApp via the WhatsApp for Business API. So there are more options and more channels where you can activate your Flowbot. Which makes it easier for you on your multiple channels, because you have more channels than only the website chat, of course. But let's dive into it. Like we're gonna build a Flowbot with you. How we're gonna do it, I'm gonna explain a little bit how you can build a Flowbot, really basic. And after that, Nick is gonna show you 2 or 3 use cases. One use case. And later we're gonna give some more use cases and tips to maybe inspire you or help you to see more than just one possibility of the Flowbot. Let's go to the Flowbot. Like, I'm opening Trengo right now, and of course on the left side where the settings are, you have the chatbot, and here you're able to add a chatbot. So when you press on the little plus, you will be directly get into the Flowbot builder, where you'll see a kind of a widget shape, and this is the place where you can generate the chatbot. Well, when you start a chatbot, it's important to start like with a message. So let's say we want to welcome the customer. We want to say, hello, welcome to our website. Like you can be creative there and try something, but welcome the customer in a nice way. I'm gonna keep it nice, sweet and short right now. But the next question could be, who would you like to talk to? Who would you like to talk to? Question mark. So that's like, who would you like to talk to? Before I get further, like one thing you can add as well is a little delay. Like, for example, like I have a really short message now, but imagine, which you can drag and drop in the field as well, but imagine if you have a long message of like 4 or 5 lines. You don't want a customer to have all these messages behind each other. You want to give the customer some time to read the message, but also know that there's another message coming. So you can decide if there's a little delay, 1 second, 5 seconds. But okay, we have asked this question, who would you like to talk to? So we're going to create some buttons. We're going to create some options the customer can choose from. So on the left side here you have buttons, 2-step. And I'm going to create a button saying sales. And also a button support. So there we go. So here I'm asking, hey, welcome to our website. Who would you like to talk to? And I created 2 buttons. And let's say the customer wants to reach out to sales. So from here I can basically create a new step. So if people choose for sales, I can, from this view directly, can create a new step, which is called sales. And on the left side it will pop up. And here you can start basically the flow when someone chooses for sales. So you can maybe write another text. I'm not going to write a full text, but say like hello and welcome. Welcome. Before we assign you to one of our sales agents, I require some information. So here's where custom fields are coming in. So when I press on add content, you might have already seen it when I started, but there are way more options. You can put text, you can even put a video, images, files, the delay. But what I want to show you now is to create a user input. So this is where customer information comes in. When I press that, the very first simple question you can ask is, what is your name, right? So you can ask, hey, what's your name? And whenever people fill this in the field, it will be saved to the contact and to the contact name. But before I'm gonna explain you the rest, let's say, okay, I'm gonna ask for the name first. But maybe a second thing we need is an email address. So we can change this one to email, contact email address, and instead of asking for the name, we're gonna ask for the email. So what's your email? And what is good to know is that this data is being directly saved into the contact profile and in the contact details.
Which you can find back in your ticket always on the right side.
Yeah.
So like you probably have noticed, like when you open a ticket, there's this gray box on top, contact information. That is where this is saved. So contact name is saved in like the bold, and then contact email is saved right underneath it. So
yeah, exactly.
It's really handy to like get contacts like saved properly.
Yeah.
And you can quickly view it as well when you do receive the ticket from the Flowbot.
Yeah. And it's always nice to already have the name of the customer when there's a real agent helping the customer.
Yeah.
But maybe one thing to mention as well, like you can maybe imagine if you have a product and you have customers that are coming back to your website more often. If they are a customer, they might gonna interact with your Flowbot more often. So there's also an option to confirm the previous input. So whenever a customer is coming back to your website, you can basically ask, hey, is your name still Onno, or is your name still Danique? And the customer can then decide, yes, it is. And if it's a new customer or a new person on that same computer, they can say no, and then the Flowbot is going to ask again. But it's just good to know that whenever your customers are re-entering your website or joining your Flowbot, the Flowbot is not going to ask every single time for the same details because it's saved in the contact details, and the Flowbot basically knows. So I think that's a good thing.
Yeah, so like if it knows, it won't ask again. If you specifically want the Flowbot to do ask again, because like information can be changed, email addresses are like kind of tricky, like does it change, does it not? You want to be certain, you can ask, like switch it on, enable it, and say confirm previous input, and it will ask all the time again, even though the Flowbot already knows.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like a decision in, do you want to check your information? Like name is perhaps something nice to check, but if you know if you notice the name stays the same all the time, you perhaps don't need it to, and then the Flowbot will just skip the question.
Yeah. And it also helps to like the customer maybe doesn't want to give their email all the time. So that's an option. And of course, there's also an option to choose the type. So whenever you're asking for a phone number, for example, or let's keep with the example, like when you're asking for an email address, you can require, okay, the reply type should be an email address. So whenever a customer doesn't put their email address or just fills in a name, the feedback message will be like, hey, this doesn't look like the correct answer, but you can also customize that. But to give feedback, especially when you're asking for a phone number, and if people say don't give the right phone number or not the right format, the customer will know, so they can try it again. So yeah, let's add that. So like for now we say hello before I interact you with the sales team. We need your name and your email address. So there are way more options there, but like Nick is gonna show you some other examples later on. But what you would like to do now maybe perhaps is assigning this ticket to a sales agent. So that's where actions are coming in. So when I select an action, I can basically, whenever this happens, so when I got the name, I got the email address, I can select an action, which could be maybe attach a label. Like if someone says, I want to speak to sale, perhaps it's a lead. So you can create a label saying, well, this is a potential customer, to give like this extra nudge of saying, okay, this is a lead, potential customer. Let's focus on it, let's give him a warm welcome. And another action could be assign this to team. So you can say, okay, assign this to team sales. And in this way, the ticket will be delivered in the inbox from the sales team, and the sales team can pick it up. Sales team will get notified, and if they see the label, perhaps they can also say, okay, this is a potential lead. So yeah, let's give this person a warm welcome. Some other options there are also, you can add it to a contact group, you can forward it to an email address, but yeah, imagine if your chatbot is ending, you can close the ticket, you can also have the action to go to a certain step inside of the Flowbot. But for now, these are the three important things to understand when you are building a Flowbot. So for me, like that's the basics of how you can start building your Flowbot. Like one little tip I can give before I give it over to Danik is whenever you are deciding to build a Flowbot, like really try to think of the goal, of the purpose, like what are you trying to achieve? Like we talked about it in the beginning a bit, like are you trying to collect data? Do you want it as a little assistant to collect information? Do you want it as a FAQ? I think it's really important to come up with a goal and a strategy, maybe even like draw it out as kind of a decision tree on what you want to create, and then put it into a proper Flowbot. But Danik is going to give you a nice use case that maybe can help you, inspire you.
Yeah. I think I have.
So Danik, take it off.
Cool. Yeah. Oh,
you don't need to
I'm
say
not
it,
gonna
no
save
worries.
it. So the use case we are focusing on right now is we have a company and we have customers that are located in the Netherlands, Belgium, or to France. It's kind of like just a normal use case. This is just the business that we own, and we want to make sure that the customer is redirected to the right department. So it's the department in the Netherlands, Belgium, or in France. And you will see why I chose these, because for every single country, there's like kind of a different thing that we're going to work on, and I will explain a bit more in depth about the Flowbot. So first off, we're going to, of course, greet the customer saying something like, hello, welcome to the webinar Flowbot in this case. It's also always good to like let your customer know that they're actually talking to a Flowbot. It gives a bit more like, oh, I'm talking to a Flowbot and not to an actual agent, so they know how to interact with it as well. Again, we have the block that says user input, and we want to know you better. What is your name? This again will be filled in then into the contact name, which is the gray box. That's all great. And then we want to know which country do you want to, like, where are you located basically. So I'm from the Netherlands, I'm from Belgium, or I'm from France. And these are the buttons again that Onno also described, so pick and choose. We're first going to be looking at the Netherlands. So yeah, the Netherlands is, in our use case, the location, the country where we have the most locations. So we are located, let's say, in Amsterdam and in Utrecht. So the customer actually needs to choose which department or which location they want to choose, they want to talk to. So this is where our location finder comes in handy, which is kind of like a tool that you can set up in your Flowbot that will make sure that the customer can reach out to the location that you want it to. So it will ask a question with which location would you like to talk to, and you can choose. You can have the Flowbot suggest locations, so then buttons will pop up. In this case, it will say Utrecht or Amsterdam, and the customer can click it. So in this case, perhaps I say Utrecht, I will be redirected to the team that is connected to the location Utrecht. If you have more than 13 locations, the Flowbot cannot put all those buttons in anymore. So that is when identifiers come in handy. So if you have less than 13, just use buttons. It's easier. Customer can just pick and choose. But if you have more than 13, it might be handy to look into identifiers. And I'm going to switch from the Flowbot view to the company profile, and I am going to go to locations. So you can see here we have Utrecht and Amsterdam, which are the locations that we have in the Netherlands. And basically, these are the identifiers. So these are all the keywords that a customer can enter that will redirect them to that specific location. So for example, we are located on the Burgemeester Rijgerstraat. So if a customer types that in, it will automatically know, hey, this address is linked to Utrecht. Let me navigate back to that location. You can also use like postcodes or stuff like that, or like different ways you can spell a name. But yeah, you can just fill in everything you think that is needed for that can customers type in to like get to the specific location. And for Amsterdam, well, there's different ways. We don't have a location in Amsterdam, but you can say Amsterdam, but people tend to say Adam as well, which is like the short wording of Amsterdam. So think about all those things that could potentially be keywords for your customer. And once you filled this in, this will also show up in the Flowbot. So as you saw, let me go back. As you saw here, you can see like selected flow locations. These are already here because I put them in the location folder. Yeah, it would just show, in this case, I want to talk to Utrecht or Amsterdam. And then, let me close it. It will give you a new action, which will say assign to location finder team. So this is the team that is connected to the location. And if I choose Utrecht, it will go to Team Utrecht. And I've attached the label here as well to like know that this is a customer that chose for the Netherlands as an option, which will come back later in a bit. But adding labels to steps in your Flowbot can really come in handy. But let's say we're not from the Netherlands, we're from Belgium, and Belgium is a country that has 2 main languages. So you can either be down south or like up north and speak either French or Flemish, or both, of course. But we want to know for the customer, which language do you prefer to talk in? So is it Flemish or French? So we're actually asking this question as user input. So the customer can say it's either French or Flemish, and this will be filled in as a custom field. And we talked about contact fields earlier, which is like the gray box where you can fill the name and email address. But we also have the option to save it into a ticket. And this will create input for your custom ticket fields, which you can also see in the right sidebar. So when the ticket opens up, a customer picks it up, they will see, well, all the contact information, of course, but they will also see what language preference the customer chose, so French or Flemish. And with that, you can actually like instruct your agents already to like get going with the conversation in French or in Flemish without even having to ask the customer what their preference is. So it's a nice way to like be before the actual needs of the customer.
And what also is good to mention with the location finder and all those tips that Nick's just giving, we also have some really nice, we have a really nice use case from one of our customers that is also on our YouTube channel. So definitely check that out as well, where they're explaining their experience. Yeah, and again, I'm attaching a label Belgium, and I'm assigning it to Team Belgium. And because of like the custom field, the agents that are located in this team know I'm speaking in Flemish or I'm speaking in French. Unfortunately, for the French people under us, we do not have a department in. Thanks everyone for waiting. We had some internet issues apparently, so that's why the video shut down. Yeah. Let's do a little recap of where we talked about. I think we ended with the location finder.
Yeah, so let's go back a bit. Yeah, can we go into Trengo?
Yes.
Great.
Thanks everybody for waiting.
Yeah.
Little technical issues, but that's part of the deal. But yeah, we're gonna continue, right?
Yeah. Okay. So what we did touch upon was like the Netherlands, Belgium, and I think we were like lastly at France. So France was the country where we do not offer any service, but we do want to know why customers want to reach out to us. Like, what are their questions? What products do they want? So we're asking user input again, and we're saving it in a ticket field. So later on, we'll touch upon this in our tips and tricks as well. You can analyze this data and see, is it like something that we want to open up a location for or anything like that? And as an action, you would close the ticket. So yeah, this is like a specific use case. There's tons of the specific use cases, of course. And if you have like a situation where you're unsure if like a Flowbot is the best option for you or which parts of a Flowbot you actually want to use, let us know. Like, please reach out to us at team at Trengo. We'll gladly help you think along what specific, like, is user input the best way to do it? Do you want to save it in contact information or in ticket information? So we can come back to you and like give you advice on what we think is like the proper way to set it up and give you some tips and tricks that are like specific to your situation, company, anything like that.
Yeah. And another thing you touched upon, like I think we can just really briefly share the configure your Flowbot. Yeah, just a little recap on this one.
Yeah, we talked about it in audio, I think, only, not with the screen. So I'm just gonna do it like this for a bit. When you have like designed your Flowbot, you configure it. So this is basically all the settings where you can play around with how you want your Flowbot to work. Most important thing is the web chat start message. This is the actual first message that your customer will see. So it's really important here to introduce your Flowbot. Perhaps it has a name or something, and say that it will be helping you. It will also let you know that there's a way to stop the Flowbot. And it will just like have a simple line. If you'd like to talk to your humans, simply say no, stop, or help, or anything like that. And that brings us to the other feature, which is the reset or transfer on keywords. So resetting means that the whole Flowbot conversation will be closed and the customer will start at the front again. So basically going through all the steps. If you want to transfer it, it will transfer the Flowbot ticket to the team that is connected, and an actual like real life agent can pick it up. How do you do that? Well, it's already sat like in that simple message, but using keywords. So if a customer types stop, help, bad emoji, stuff like that, it will switch back, either reset or transfer. And please keep in mind that do use keywords that cannot like interact with your normal conversation. So stop and help are pretty obvious ones, but perhaps in your situation, it might not be the best keywords to use. And these are all connected. So transfer keywords, what the actual message is, stuff like that. And one important thing as well is the option to have a chatbot as a fallback. So when a customer types a question and the chatbot knows the answer to that question, it will answer. So it's a nice way to like have two bots interact with each other so they can help out. And again, everything is like explained in the gray line, so you can read more information on that as well. Yeah.
Awesome. Yeah, I think it's a really nice summary. So we talked about the Flowbot, what it is. We showed you some use cases, especially with Location Finder, and how to to publish your Flowbot. At the end, there's also a little step where you can publish your Flowbot and save it, so you're actually sure that it's live on your channel. But yeah, let's get to the excited part, because we have collected some tips for you. Let me go. Let's go to the right side.
Yeah.
Because like, as you know, like we usually have a series with Trengo tips. What we want to do, like we said in the beginning, the Flowbot has endless options. Like, you know, like so we try. We hope to inspire you with the upcoming tips, which are important when you're considering Flowbot or you want to activate a Flowbot. So yeah, let's start with the first tip. We already briefly talked about it, but it's really important to test your Flowbot. Like, put yourself in the shoes of a customer, try it out in the playground, and really try to see in what circumstances, like where they land up, where they ended up. Are they at the end being dealt with correctly, or should they be returned to a main menu? Like, it's really important to to test your Flowbot proper to see how it works before you put it live.
And also have other people test, because your way of thinking might not be someone else's way of thinking. So if you have like multiple people in your team, have everybody test it out, give you some feedback on the flow or the guide that you're making, so that you have everything in place, different opinions, different people that use different structures to like navigate themselves.
Yeah. So yeah, test your Flowbot, test it good, and make sure it's as you wish. So that's the first one. Second one is a widget automation. This is a tool mostly familiar from the welcome greetings you can put on your website widget, but you can also use it for the Flowbot. So here's a little example, but I'm going to go back to the Trengo dashboard again. So when you in the Trengo settings go to widget automation, you come in the widget automation. There you can add trigger a Flowbot. So what you can do with this tool, with the widget automation, you can basically decide whenever a Flowbot will be active on a certain page or another condition. So you can really target the right Flowbot and even the right step Flowbot according to where the customer is.
For example, like the Flowbot where we had the Netherlands, France, and Belgium, if you have a website that is specific to only Dutch customers, you could say that we have like the full Flowbot, but on this specific Dutch page, I want the step, which is the Netherlands, to be the first one. So they will skip the part of having to answer where they are from, like which country are you from. So because the website already knows, the widget automation already knows, so it will just navigate them to that part of a Flowbot you want your customer to be in. So it could be country, could be product, could be a lot of things.
Exactly. And this is like the first step in this role as well, to select the Flowbot, but also select the step you want to have. Like this is the Flowbot I just created myself, where you can direct them. But the more important thing is like choose the audience, where we just talked about. Here you can select some of the conditions, and there you can go crazy. You can do whatever you want. You can even do it based on the amount of visits on the website. You can even do it based on the UTM source. Like, for example, you're running a campaign and you want to trigger those kind of people that came onto your website via this campaign and trigger them with a different Flowbot or different questions, or via a URL. Like imagine your customers on your pricing website or your pricing page, and they reach out to the widget, maybe even with help of a greeting. They're probably going to have a question about pricing, perhaps. So you can already trigger the Flowbot to talk about maybe pricing or ask questions about pricing. And in this way, you can create a really advanced Flowbot that's really automated and helps the customer where they are at and where they need the help, instead of every customer needs to go to the same singular Flowbot on every page on the website. So this is also part where you can be really creative. But yeah, widget automation. So that's another tip you can do. The third tip we're going to show is dynamic content.
Yeah, dynamic content. Wouldn't it be nice if like all your information from your CRM or your like product backlog or anything like that would automatically be in your Flowbot? So for example, is this product still in stock? Could be something that your customer is wondering about. And because of dynamic content, you have the option to have a CRM or like your stock system be linked to your Flowbot. So we can actually get that data from your other system and put it back into your Flowbot. And this could be helpful in like an array of like situations, of course. But like having products in stock could be it, or having order information, all stuff like that. It is really important though to note that this dynamic content part is set up best with the developer. More information can always be found on developers.trengo.com, and we'll also give you a more like explanation on how this actually works, how it would look like. So if you're interested, definitely take a look. Have a developer at your side who can like translate for you if you want to look into it. And also, if you have questions, let us know, because it is a bit tricky, but it can save you so much more time. But it does take some time to invest to set this up.
Yeah.
Because actual coding is what needed. Next one is with rules. Hopefully you're familiar with rules. They can greatly help you in automating loads of processes in Trengo. And we're gonna set you up with 2 rules, which are really basic, but can help you out like greatly. The first one is having the Flowbot trigger outside business hours only. So if you have the Flowbot, you can put it on a channel. It will be active 24/7. I can also imagine that you want your live support inside business hours to be like actual agents, but outside you want the Flowbot to be active. If you want to do that, you can set up rules to do so. And basically what you do is every rule has like a trigger, which is the when, and this time it will be an inbound message. A customer reaches out to you and you will receive a message, and according to if it is inside or outside business hours, you want the Flowbot to trigger. So you can see the first condition is outside business hours and then our webinar business hours. And the action will be to set your Flowbot. And in this case, I think I called it, Flowbot via rules. This is just the Flowbot that you decide on. And the interesting part is the second condition, because this is something that if you just have is inside business hours or outside business hours, the Flowbot will keep on looping itself, because every time there's a new inbound message, it will be, hey, it's outside business hours. Let's start the Flowbot again, which is of course not something that you want. So to make sure that that loop doesn't like appear at all or it doesn't happen at all, you make sure that at the very first step of your Flowbot, so step A, you add a label. And in our case, we use Flowbot conversation. So very first step, step A, we add a label, Flowbot conversation, and then we continue with our Flowbot. So it can be a button or to another step or anything like that. And what happens is you receive an inbound message, the Flowbot will trigger, and it will place on that label. And because this rule says that if the ticket label does not contain Flowbot conversation, it will only trigger when it doesn't see that label. So it will not trigger again because, well, the Flowbot conversation has already started. So that's a really handy one to keep in mind. If you're using the Flowbot, make sure that it's not looping in any way. And this is one of the ways you can actually make sure that loop is just gone, can't happen. And the second rule is more so about like specific conditions where you want to trigger the Flowbot. So imagine you've had a conversation with a customer and they want to become a VIP customer. And you close up the ticket, and after that ticket is closed, which is our trigger in this case, the Flowbot will start and will ask some questions, some information that the customer needs to give. And you don't want your agent to be bothered by it, but well, a Flowbot can do this as well. So you will say the when will be when a conversation is closed. And in this case, we use the contact group. So the agent had a chat and filled in that this customer is interested in being a VIP customer. They are checked into that customer group. And because that condition is set, the Flowbot will trigger. And it is also like VIP customers. This is the extra condition that have given a compliment or something like that. So you can basically add all kinds of conditions to make it like really specific to what you want to achieve. You can also make it as like limited as possible, of course, but do keep in mind that adding more conditions will greatly help the rule being triggered on the exact moment that you want it to be. So vague rules are definitely not a recommendation. Like try to keep them as simple, but also like broad as possible. So like add every possible condition, but make it clear.
Yeah, and this is also something, of course, like if you have a goal in your head or you want to trigger a certain Flowbot in a certain situation, like feel free to reach out to us as well. Like we work with it daily, so we can help you, to maybe think out of the box and try to find ways where you can make this work. Because it can be super efficient and helpful.
Yeah, and as well, if you want to reach out to us and you already made something, but you're unsure on like how this works, please send a screenshot of it as well. We can like look into it with you, see if this is actually doing what you want it to do, and give you some advice on it.
Nice, thanks. And tip 5, know the effects.
Yeah. We already talked about it briefly about labels and adding stuff to your Flowbot, which all comes back to analyze what your Flowbot is doing. So adding a label, which I did in our use case of like the Netherlands, Belgium, France, it gives me information on which customers are reaching out to the Netherlands, which customers are reaching out to Belgium. And by using Trengo Analytics, I can make exports or dashboards to see how many times this label is placed on top of those tickets. So with that, I can see like perhaps which topics are asked the most. For example, we use it as well because we have tons of features like website chat, there's the website widget, there's WhatsApp, there's Facebook, there's rules, there's Flowbots. And our Flowbot actually adds these labels to every ticket. So we kind of have an overview on how many times certain topics are like chosen. And we can see like our customers having a lot of questions about Flowbots or a lot of questions about website chat. And we can move our team accordingly to be, well, perhaps we need to create a webinar about Flowbots or something else. So yeah, that's definitely like analyze what your Flowbot is doing. You can use labels for that. Really makes a lot of difference.
And also there you can be creative again. Like another example, you could do, like in the beginning we talked about, imagine you wanna build a Flowbot as a FAQ, like frequently asked questions. If you build the Flowbot at first, I mean, you're probably proud of it, it's nice, but it's always nice to see how you can improve this Flowbot. So what I always suggest is like what I also see said in the beginning, like don't make the Flowbot take over all your support. They will always leave a chance for humans to have the opportunity to speak to a proper agent and a human being. And what you can do with the FAQs, for example, at the end, if they don't have their question answered, you can say, okay, type your question. Well, the customer types their question and save it in a custom field. So you save this particular question and then assign it to a team who can handle this question. But then later on with Trengo Analytics, you can basically pull out a report with all these questions been asked, and if you see, okay, like this customer, like I've around 20 people asking this question, which is not yet in my Flowbot, like this will be a nice way to improve your Flowbot and see, okay, like this question has been asked a lot, it's not in my Flowbot yet, so let's put it in there and see if we can make it more efficient. So that's another one. Another one, I think you touched on it already a little bit, is basically you wanna know how many people are helped by the Flowbot. You know, at the end, like you wanna save time, you wanna work more efficient, but it will also be interesting to know how well your Flowbot has helped you with that goal to save time. So in this way, it's also possible to add a label to a Flowbot, and whenever the Flowbot is completed, you can trigger a rule where the label is being pulled off again, or add another label. And from this label, for example, you could have a label at the end saying, okay, Flowbot completed, or Flowbot completed, or hand over to a agent, or maybe completed by the Flowbot itself. If you create these kind of labels and rules with the examples Danique gave earlier, you can really have a clear overview, for example, per week, how many flows there have been completed successfully, or maybe have not been completed successfully. That's also an interesting thing to know.
And if you make an expert as well, like if you have the label, for example, like Flowbot stock or customer stock in Flowbot, you can actually make an expert and look back in the ticket number as well, because I mean, this will give you data basically, but you also want to know like what information am I getting out of it. So including ticket number, you can dive into your actual export and see, why did the customer get stuck here? Was it because of the keywords? Was it because of the phrasing? Was it because the customer didn't know they were talking to the Flowbot?
So like we say, like there are a lot of different ways to analyze your Flowbot. It also depends on the purpose, of course. But again, let us know if you have if it's challenging and you wanna have some advice, or you want us to look with you, because we're more than happy to help. But yeah, that was the last tip. Of course, there are loads more tips that we can give, but for now, these are the top 5 we were given. Little summary. Like we started off with an introduction. Why should you consider a Flowbot in the first place? We gave you a little tour on how to create it, what features are in there. And then we gave you like some use cases.
We had a little break.
With a little some technical issues with the internet, but luckily enough, we got a great help from our colleague Effe. So we're back tracking in. We still hope all of you stayed in the first place, and we hope it was useful. Like I think we had our colleague Kirsten on the chat, helping you answering a lot of questions. So I think. Yeah, that has been dealt with a lot, I see. Oh, that's really nice. Thanks, Kirsten. Shout out to Kirsten for that. If your question hasn't been answered, please do not hesitate to contact us, of course. I think it's really important to know that we're available on a lot of channels, but we also have an amazing help center. We have some YouTube videos. Like I already said, we have some use cases from customers who are using the Flowbot, which we talked about. But we also have a YouTube video explaining you how to set up a Flowbot outside of your business hours. So yeah, feel free to reach out, to look around, and of course reach out to us via our website or at team@trengo.com, because we are more than happy to help. And I'm not sure if you have something to add.
Yeah, we will probably re-record this. So if you do want to watch back, you will get a link to this webinar. But also know that if you want to like have it for other colleagues to like watch at a later time, we'll probably re-record it, and you can find it on YouTube then. So it will be just on the YouTube page, and then I think it's category playlist webinar or Trengo tips. But you can find it back there without the break in it.
Yeah.
But thanks for keeping up with us.
And see you in the next webinar, right? See you.